Hello and welcome to another episode of Reimagine the North with Alex Mackenzie. That is me. We're talking today with a very lovely lady. I'm very excited. I actually used to work with her when I had a job before I was homeless and unemployed, and took on this comedy thing. And we worked together at the pulp mill. And she is also an extreme outdoorsist. She does everything outside. You know, if there's a mountain, there's a lake, there's a river. And the one thing I'm really excited to talk about today with her is her stand-up paddleboarding. So please welcome Kimberly Kenyon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Alex, for having me here.
All right, K-Dog, let's start with, what should we start? I was going to ask you, so what do you do for work right now? You're working in a mine, you said.
Yeah, so like, as you told everybody, used to be at the pulp mill.
Yeah.
Worked there for 12 years. I also took my trade there, so I'm a Red Seal tradesman.
Yep.
Or tradesperson.
Tradeswoman.
However you want to say it. However you want to identify. we're good with that.
Yeah.
And now I actually work for Artemis Gold at the Blackwater mine site.
Oh, nice. And still doing instrumentation,
yes,
assuming,
still doing
right?
Instrumentation.
Nice. What do you notice between the two industries? Anything different?
There's more money in one.
Okay, perfect.
if you want to be really honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I mean, I think forestry industry is not in its booming age anymore. Right. So you can definitely notice the feel around how much companies are willing to kind of invest to move forward at this point in time. Like things were shaky at the pulp mill, so it's one of those things where you don't know kind of where your future is going.
Right.
It is a.
Well, I remember even when I got into the mill, because how I first started was I took like a pulp and paper technologist program, and when I got in there, I think I wasn't even hired yet. I think we did like I guess it would be akin to like practicum kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So we did that. I remember going in there, and there were some pulp mill guys, very big. They're like, why are you coming into this industry? It's dying. This is a dying industry, and you're just trying to get into it now.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it was great for many years. And that's the thing I always heard about forestry. My dad had worked his whole life for the pulp mill. And he was like, dude, they've been saying that place is going to shut down from the day I started, you know? But that's kind of what this podcast was about, is how Prince George used to just be very heavy forestry. Like, that's all we really had. If you weren't cutting down trees, you weren't making money. But now Prince George.
Unless you were planting trees.
Planting trees. See, yes, get on the other side of it here. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, but if you weren't cutting down trees.
Yeah. So it was like, if you're not doing that, you're not making money. And now I've noticed the changing landscape of the North. That's where Reimagine the North came from. Yeah. Is we have so many exceptional people up here. We're not just a bunch of lumberjacks cutting down trees or hippies planting them. We've got so many. We have amazing artists, athletes, and people of exceptional abilities, and that's what I wanted to bring on to this podcast, and that's why you're here, because you are a very exceptional person and an athlete. So I want to ask you about, stand-up paddleboard. Do you want to start there? Or what do you want? Do you want to start with your love of nature? How did you fall in love with nature?
Funny thing, tree planting.
Really? Okay, planted the trees.
So possibly was one of those hippies.
And when were you tree planting?
Yeah, I worked in silviculture for about 10 years. So I planted for 6 and foreman for 4. Okay. So I was 10 years out there.
And what's it look like? What's a day in a tree planter look like? Like when you first start?
When you first start?
Yeah.
Everything nothing really seems to be that good.
Okay.
You're outside all the time. The bugs are heinous. You're covering camp costs. You're trying to figure out what you're actually doing. Sometimes you question what you're doing with your life.
Right.
All those kind of things. But you put your head down trying to learn a certain skill. So it's like physically demanding. Very much you're bending over however many thousand times a day you need to in order to plant the trees. Right. And you have to understand how to plant the tree in a quick enough, fast enough way that it will be to specifications. Right. And then.
Yeah, because there's a certain spacing, right? That they have to be apart and a certain depth.
Depends on the contract.
Right. Do you have a favorite type of tree to plant? Or did you plant different trees? Or I don't know enough about trees.
I was gonna say, let me think. I like the cedars, honestly, because I planted on BC's coast too as well. Okay. So I did that for a little while too. So that's really rugged good. And like super steep.
It's probably a really good way to see the province, right?
Oh, absolutely incredible. Like you see so many different places up here in the north that people just don't set foot on. Like you've had the logging crew come through and that's about it. And then you're on the side of this hill out in the boondocks and you can just see for miles. Mm-hmm. So it does create like an open atmosphere of just being exposed to what is actually here in the north. And I think that's where my love for nature came from.
Right.
Was I was working outside, I was exposed to it, and I just became more intrigued by it, just wanted to learn more about what I was around, and it just kind of grew from there.
Did you find when you're, after you did, like, because you tree plant in seasons, right? Like,
Yeah.
how long is the season?
If you work just an interior season, it can be anywhere from 40 to 70 days. Like, so that would be like the spring, summer in the interior, they would call it. And if you hook the coast on it, you can plant up to like 146 days, I think was my biggest year, which is like, that's a huge year for a tree planter.
Right, yeah. Well, and is it, you're working like pretty much every day?
4 on, like 1 off. Some of them do 5 and 1 off, some of them do 3 and 1 off. It really depends on the company.
And when you finished your first season of tree planting, was that when then you were back inside doing normal stuff and you're like, I got to get back out?
I went back to university, actually.
Okay.
So I was actually going to UNBC here up in the north, which is a really great facility, beautiful
Dude, it's
university.
unreal. Hey, that is something about Prince George that is very underrated, is our university.
The university is gorgeous. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. The amount of windows that they put into there and, like, the actual design, the architecture, it's a beautiful university, and, like, it offers, I would say, a decent amount of programs. It doesn't have everything, but, like, I mean, for a university in northern British Columbia.
And I think the cost, again, is a lot cheaper, right? I just talked to a kid at the gym the other day, and he's doing some tech stuff, and he's from Red Deer, but he came here, and he's like, oh, it's a beautiful university, and it was like a fraction of the cost of him going to, you know, I think it would be like, would SAIT be one or something? I don't know.
SAIT and NAIT.
Right, but those are more technical schools, right?
Yeah.
I don't know universities. I'm not smart enough for what those are. I got to the technical level, and that's where they cut me off. They're like, you're a kid, this is your level, coloring books from here on out.
And they have to have the numbers too for you, right? So
Yeah, I know which color goes with which number. Always mess that up. Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things of the north. That's why I always was very surprised. I remember my dad was talking about, like, for Prince George, what we have resource-wise, how it hasn't got bigger. It's like, because we have, like, now we have an international airport, right? Like, they increased the size of the runway to allow bigger planes. We have, like, the major hospital in the region. We've got pulp mills. We've got oil refineries. We've got the university. Like, we have so many.
The hospital's the university hospital as well, so they do a lot of training there for, like, doctors and nurses and stuff. So, and a lot of the programs go through there from CNC and from the university. So I feel like you would think, you're like, oh, one day it's gonna, like, boom. But do you think it's just like, do you think it's a geographical region? Like, we're just so far from everything that stops the population from growing? I think it's an expectation of what people are looking for.
Right.
Like, when I come here, like, my favorite thing about the north and, like, being here is affordable living.
Right.
Like, things are not outrageously priced. Like, the Lower Mainland, even I was talking to a friend who's, well, one of the guys I work with now is from Kamloops, and I couldn't believe the housing prices in Kamloops.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it kind of boggles me that people are getting a little bit more, like, mortgage broke. Like, literally before this podcast, I just came from down by Radium. I was rafting the Kootenay River. Like, well, I was paddleboarding, but on a raft trip down the Kootenay River. And it's like, I have that access. Like, I have a career that gives me enough freedom to be able to go. And, like, I can afford it up here. I can afford to actually go do things. And the access, because of the forestry industry that's been here, you can access so many different places. There's so many different lakes. Like, I don't know. It's just, being here is like the affordability for the school, the affordability to live. And it kind of...
Well, and that's the thing about having all that stuff, high-paying jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have the industry up here that have these high-paying jobs that it can, and then with the low cost of living, that's where you can get that expendable income to then go and do what you actually want to do. Yeah, exactly.
Because that's freedom in my mind. At least, like, when I look at, like, when they say, like, the freedom of the north also comes with the fact that you can afford to live here.
Right.
And, like, I work with a guy who's got a homestead. And he's, you know...
Dude, I did a podcast with a girl who had a homestead.
And
dude, it seems so appealing, doesn't it? To just, like, get a piece of land and just go hide. You're like, I'm just going to get a wife, have some kids, and grow everything and live off the grid.
And it's really, like, I think it's really empowering for people too as well. Like, if you can do that, like, he comes and he works at the mine with us for 2 weeks, 'cause I work at a gold mine now. And, like, he comes and he works with us for 2 weeks, and then he goes home and works on the homestead for 2 weeks. And he's got a couple people to come over and help his wife while he's out at work. And then, but, like, that's what he does. And he can be dedicated for that 2 weeks off for that. So, it's just, I think when they say, like, the freedom of the north, it comes in so many different like, ways, and, like, the growth.
Because a lot of time you would think, I would picture the outdoors of the north as the first thing, but that's a very good point that you're putting on. It's like the freedom of, like, the affordable living that you can have being up here. Yeah, it's very exciting. I was thinking, a weird one with that I found though, because do you remember, were you at the mill when Mackenzie shut down? I don't know if you were. It would have been like 2010 or something.
I would have just started.
Yeah.
A little bit after I just started, yeah.
So we had a bunch of guys from Mackenzie's pulp mill come and start working at the Prince George pulp mill when Mackenzie shut down. And I remember them complaining about the cost of living. Because I think you get, like, your barometer is set wherever you're born, kind of thing, right? So they're like, why would anyone live in Prince George? A house here is $200,000. They're like, in Mackenzie, I can get the same house for $50,000, and then I have so much more money to actually go and do all this stuff. And it was like, it is weird. But then when you look and go further south, like you're saying, like that's how we look at Kamloops or like Kelowna, or the further you go, it's just more money. And it seems like there's got to be but I think Prince George is a perfect balance because it is the size. Like it's like 80,000 people. We have everything.
We have the amenities.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's like a city, like similar to those other ones, but the cost is like half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So outdoors stuff. How did you get into? Because you don't just do stand-up paddleboarding. You do whitewater. What do you call it? Whitewater rafting, paddleboarding, whitewater stand-up paddleboarding.
So when people, sometimes I bring it up, it's like, oh, I sup. People are like, sup.
Yeah, I love supping, dude.
They're like, sup, and I'm like, some people are confused by that acronym though.
Right.
So it's like a lot of people relate to paddleboarding. So, and the funnest part for me now is like asking people, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of paddleboarding?
Oh, okay, for me, the first thing I think of is a lady at the lake, and she's on her knees with her phone, and she's got a corgi in front of her.
The dog.
Yes, with the corgi in front, and she's doing a selfie for the Instagram, doing her supping.
Okay, so the funny thing about this whole thing is like, the dog is becoming like a thing now.
Yeah,
like
that's all I think of. Every time I think of that was the first thing that came to my mind.
I love asking people because it puts into perspective like just life in general. Like if we look at the north and we think like, what do you think of the north? Some people think like desolate forests, wild animals maybe, or they think like loggers, lumberjacks, like just like that kind of stuff, and they don't see innovation, they don't see creativity, they don't see the like, you go downtown and we have some like fabulous little restaurants downtown that have just been growing, and like people have gotten used to having, and they're locally owned. They're not even like, we have great access to that stuff. We don't have maybe the widest variety of a large city, but we have that stuff here. So people don't see the fine lining of it. Mm-hmm. So when people think about paddleboarding, a lot of people do think female, dog, lake, those things come up. So it's interesting. So when we think about the innovation of the north and the inspiring of the north, it's similar things. So for myself, when I think of paddleboarding,
what do you think of?
When I think of paddleboarding, the only thing that comes to mind is fun.
Fun, right.
Fun and freedom and just joy. That's what comes to my mind. That's the first things that come to my mind. And then comes like probably the obsession.
Right.
But then
yeah.
But like for me, it's whitewater. It's a river. It's moving water. And when I say like moving water, I don't just mean like your creek that's going along. I mean like full on class 3 rapids. If you're gonna go find your rafting company, you're gonna go find a rafting company. You're gonna go commercially rafting.
Yeah.
That's where I'll be.
Yeah, passing them on your stand-up paddleboard.
But like, yeah, and it blows people's mind, and not only does that blow people's mind, but like one of the things that's really unique about up here in the north is we freeze, but we don't fully freeze. Right. We have a warm spring north of Prince George, and it stays open all year round, and it's like a haven for some of the waterfowl, especially the trumpeter swans in the wintertime, because the water's open. So I can literally go paddling when everything else is frozen. It's been minus 20. I wait for it to be minus 5 or warmer. Yeah. Because anything below minus 8, as I've discovered, actually can be quite cold on the feet. So I wait till it's a little bit warm.
That's probably one of the hardest ones, right? Do you wear little booties?
I actually wear full dry suit.
Okay,
and then I'll actually put like the foot warmers in my in my dry suit inside my river shoes. Okay. So in order to try and keep my feet warm, because that's the one thing that gets like really cold because of the direct contact to the board that's in direct contact with the water. Right. Kind of a compounding situation. But you can go paddling in the winter up here. And it's like, you want to go with the right equipment. Like you got to have like just talk to the right people.
Yeah, well, that's what I found.
If you're thinking about it, talk to me.
Talk to you first. You'll get me sorted.
I'll get you some stuff.
Well, that is the biggest one I found. I got into snowmobiling for a couple years, and I bought really expensive snowmobile gear.
Yeah.
And it was because I was like, dude, if I'm cold and wet, like this isn't, like it doesn't matter how good a snowmobile I have or where I'm, like I'm just not going to be having as much fun.
Yeah.
So it's like step one is like, create like a comfortable environment to be able to do it in.
Yeah, and safe too. Like that's a big thing. So like people when they think about paddleboarding too, and like rivers and moving water, like all I'm gonna say is this really publicly to everybody: please do not wear an ankle leash on a river or on moving water. It has caused fatalities. People get hung up. Okay, it's a big thing. So
your board get jammed up, and then you're attached to this thing.
You're attached to the board. The leash is hung up on something. It's a safe thing, right? So even in the winter where I go,
put the leash on your dog.
Yeah, or don't go with one. Like is the thing.
Without a dog?
No, without.
You can't. Oh.
The dog, right? The lake, the woman, and the dog. They all go together.
Yeah. How do you get on the board? The step one of the board. Put your dog on.
Right.
Step two. Right. No, just do that.
So yeah, but I do. I like. So my thing is like just trying to. I do instruct too as well, and that's why I try and come with some of these safety messages. I don't want to put it out there that, oh, hey, I go paddling in the winter, and then people just think, oh, I can go paddling in the winter. I'm like, oh, hey, I go paddling on rivers. It's like, oh, okay, I can go paddling on rivers. It's like there's a couple really simple, basic safety things that just I think everybody should know. One of them is the ankle leash.
Right.
And the other one is in the winter, you need to dress for immersion, because if you do fall off in the winter, you are in a very fast, very quickly hypothermic situation.
Right.
So dry suit.
Yeah. And do you wear a hoodie under there?
I wear like full thermals as if I'm going skiing.
Right. Yeah. My buddy has a dry suit we use it for just like wake surfing though.
Yeah.
So you can just get on the lake a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And then you wear like all your clothes underneath, and it helps.
Yeah.
So when you're first going to do a river, how do you know which river is like? Do you have to have a map of the river? Like you got to know what's coming up. Can't just be like, oh, this is gonna be. We'll just float down this thing, you know.
So,
but then you can't know what's coming up until you go in the river.
There's guidebooks.
Okay.
So that's one thing. If there's local clubs, where people live or whatever, if they're paddling, look for a guidebook, because that guidebook will probably support the local club if you purchase it.
Right.
And that local club is the people that you can also reach out to for information, for like beta on certain rivers, for like what's a good place to start, all that kind of stuff. Like clubs are usually fairly trying to keep people safe and informed.
Yep.
So that's a really good thing. There's also a few different like apps. If you're not familiar with like the actual language of rivers and how there's like the different classes that they come and that kind of stuff, it might be a little bit confusing for you. So, but yeah, there's guidebooks, there's clubs, and there's community. Community's been honestly the biggest thing. That's part of the reason that drags me into, especially whitewater. Like you can go paddling at the lake with your friends, with your family, co-workers, whoever, but like it takes an actual community and people there to support one another when it comes to the whitewater, and when it comes to the river, and when it comes to like just being safe out there. And the experience within the community, it's kind of fun, because you get people who have been paddling insane amounts all their life, and they have so much knowledge, and they're willing to share it.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool thing about it.
We touched on it last podcast a little bit about, I've noticed myself getting older how valuable community is. Like I think it's everything. I think if you don't have community, you really suffer. Like you can have some really good things going on in your life, or be achieving a lot of your goals and dreams, but if you don't have that sense of community, it's just like, I guess having community is like looking through life with an Instagram filter on, Everything's just a little bit brighter, a little better. You got people to share it with, and that connection.
Yeah, like it's, that's the driving, like it's a huge driving factor for me.
Yeah, and the fun.
Oh, gosh.
That's what I remind myself all the time. So with comedy, I always remember to have fun. And because I think that is the goal with anybody. As long as you're having fun, you'll keep doing it, right? And like, because there's so many parts of the career I've chosen that aren't fun.
Yeah.
Like you're just having to do these marketing campaigns and like admin and booking and travel and these things that are not as good or not the enjoyable part of on stage. But then you're like, hey, remember you're doing this because it's fun, and this doesn't have to be like this. I think that's something that's changed in my life a lot lately. Has been, I used to think in order to be successful, you had to suffer, right? So I thought that you had to go through hardship in order to be successful. Like if you weren't suffering, you weren't trying hard enough, and it wasn't
Well, there's a fine line between suffering and between hard work.
Right.
There's a fine line between, I'd say, torture and like torment, and like being able to like test yourself too as well. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like a full understanding of yourself and how you are as a person. Like nobody wants to suffer,
right?
But we also do need some. What's the word now I'm thinking of? Okay, it'll come back to me. But we do need some like character building situations. We do need things that challenge us. We do need to actually legitimately do hard things in our life.
Right.
Like, and whitewater stand-up paddleboarding.
Yeah, very difficult.
At times is extremely hard.
Yeah.
But I mean that's the driving factor for me, because it's growth. Mm-hmm. And like it's growth, and it's all within. I have to understand. I have to work on the skills. I'm responsible for it. The community is there to support me, is to educate me, is to like help me, is to like if something goes wrong, they're gonna be there to help rescue, like all those kind of things. But it's up to me to be responsible for myself on the water, and it's up to me to be responsible for my skills, and it's up for me to be responsible about like what I'm doing. So I'm gonna do the same hard things. Like I honestly have stepped back from like the advertising that I instruct a little bit, and all the campaigns and stuff like that, and trying to put it out there, because I don't know if I have that extensive drive, because I'm not actually that competitive of a person. Like I'm not competitive. Mm-hmm. I want to see what I can do. Yeah. But it's not up against anybody else. It's just how much can I actually grow.
Yeah. Well, they say that's the best. What was the quote I saw? In the final analysis, you should be you should be trying to defeat your former self.
Yeah.
Because it's like you are the best opponent, because you've had all the advantages and disadvantages, you know. So getting to just try to compete with your former self seems to be the thing. Do you think, because this is a common thing I notice with a lot of people from Prince George, is that like do hard things, overcome hard obstacles. You know, we got Scotty McWalter here, the producer, and that guy pushes himself every day. You know, he's running rain, sleet, or snow. And do you think that is something that is bred up here in the north?
I would say we're a little bit rougher around the edges, so we get used to the adversity that's been handed to us. Mm-hmm. I do think that there's a certain amount of people, though, that are in the north that don't take on the adversity as easily. Like there's two different types. Mm-hmm. And I think there's definitely people up here are sure they're going to complain about the weather, but they're also going to go out and get things done. Right. So it's definitely, I think that the north does breed a little bit. Some people say that, they're rougher on the edges, or they're a little bit harder, but they're people that are gonna dig in and sink their feet in when it's time to actually like stand up and get things done. Yeah, well, that's the biggest difference I noticed between, I think I touched on again last podcast, with like the city people and my north friends, what we call my hillbilly friends. Like my hillbilly friends, they just get the thing done. Yeah. You know, they're like, hey, we have to do this. And I think a lot of that comes from being outdoors. Like I really think that's where, one, I think resilience, winter, just a long winter, it just makes you so much stronger, because you're living in an environment that is very unfavorable, and you're like, well, we just have to get this done. I remember I dated an Australian girl for a while, and she always would talk about, she's like, life in Canada is just harder than back home. Like they just don't have those extreme weather. Like it's very hot, but it's not the same as when it's minus 40, you know, like you're not dealing with that. They don't have as much environmental barriers, I guess, that they're going through. But then the other one I was saying, where I think being outdoors, because it'll be doing outdoor activities like if you're hiking, or, you know, my thing would probably most have been snowmobiling. Like you run into an issue and you don't have an option to just quit. You're like, we have to get out of the mountain or we die. Like figure it out. Like I had a friend, he was snowmobiling and he went off a cliff, and it's like his sled ended up way down in the ravine. He was down there, he was by himself, he couldn't get the sled out, it was stuck. He had to stay the night in the mountains, so he's like, hey, well, I'm gonna carve a stick, I'm gonna make a spear in case wolves show up. And he's like, and then I'm gonna make a fire. And then he used, he had like is it Spot or whatever, the SOS thing? It would have been a Spot maybe at that time. But yeah, so then I had to use the SOS thing. Then a helicopter came in the morning. And what was actually really funny is they dropped him, the helicopter came and they dropped him snowshoes and a radio. But he didn't see the radio, and it just hit the snow and like buried. Oh yeah. And then he got the snowshoes and he was like,
I guess I just hike now. But they were trying to, so he hiked like 5 kilometers to the road where they could pick him up. But they were on the radio trying to tell him, like, we just need you to move over there and we can get you. Like, that's all we, like, just go,
Maximum effort.
Yeah. But he's like, he couldn't talk to him and didn't know, so he did that. But I always think, and then he had to go back in the spring, hire another helicopter to go back and, like, get his sled and get it out.
Yeah.
But I always think of stuff like that where certain people, like, that makes you realize what's important, what, like, hardship, there are actual, like, survival instincts. And then after you go through something like that, when it's like, oh, you have a deadline on Friday for some reports or whatever, you're like, yeah, this isn't that.
That's low stress.
Yeah, I can get this done. You know, I got to sit at the computer for 6 hours or whatever. Like, you know, I mean, that is very stressful sometimes too, but it's.
Well, I think there's a theory going around right now too as well that people don't actually expose themselves to like real fear or actual like life and death situations really much anymore.
Right.
And so like there's a compounding effect that like if you don't go out and actually face real danger, like whether or not you're going to drown, whether or not you're going to be stuck in the woods overnight, it's like your gauge basically shifts.
Right.
And I think about like survival and what people are willing to do and what people are exposed to. Like at Rogers Pass for backcountry skiing, you have cell service.
Right.
You have cell service in like 80% of that area. You have cell service.
And where's Rogers Pass?
Rogers Pass is down on the number 1 highway.
Okay.
Down between, I believe, Revelstoke and Golden.
Okay, yeah.
So like anybody who backcountry skis, gets out, you know, they go there, they got cell service. And it's like, you come up here, you're like, I drove 10 minutes out of town, I don't have cell service.
Yeah, I am on my own.
Yeah, and that's very much the North. It's like you are on your own. And I think it creates that strength and that like individual and the communities of people who have to grow together and have to work together in order to like be out here and to adventure in similar ways. Yeah,
that's very good. I think that makes sense, right? Building the community through the hardships always brings people together. What was I going to ask you? I just said something good. Oh, that thing about I think I saw Alex Honnold. Do you know him?
Yep.
The rock climbing guy. He was talking about that.
Yeah.
With not exposing yourself to actual danger.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about just go to an airport and watch people freak out.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, you're in a climate controlled building that is stocked completely full of food. Like, you know, it's like, even no matter what, like you're gonna be fine. Yeah. Like, what are you worried about? Worst case scenario, you miss your flight and then you don't get to the thing or whatever, but like, no one is gonna die here. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very much that too. Like when you look at someone like David Goggins is constantly pushing that. He's constantly pushing that kind of that grit edge, that hard edge, that uncomfortable edge, those things you don't want to do. Like he's constantly doing that. So he's constantly growing that part of his brain. So he's exposing himself to those difficult situations.
That's the thing that was the craziest I heard. They were talking about that. It's like the part of your brain that's like your will to live.
Yep.
Or whatever. And that grows from over like doing things that you don't want to do that are difficult. But the craziest part about it,
want to go whitewater paddling?
Yeah, I need to live longer, so I have to go and expose myself to death. But the thing that was crazy about it is that the difficult thing, you have to not want to do it. Like I saw Huberman talking about it, and he was saying like, so say like the ice bath. And you're like, oh, I don't like going in the ice bath.
Just go in it then.
And then go in it. But then you know what happens is if you start to like the ice bath,
yeah, you got to go in a hot bath.
Then this doesn't grow anymore. Yeah. You literally I'm like, so it's not like when you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, you're like, oh, I used to be able to lift 40 pounds, now I can lift 50 pounds. And you're like, oh, great. It's like, no, you have to keep doing that. But I guess the gym's the same way. Like, as the weights get lighter, if you want to keep growing, you have to keep lifting the heavier weight. Otherwise, your muscles just stay the same
Or you
size.
switch it up and you do the exercise that you get a trainer, get someone to like train you how to do the exercises that are really awkward for your body.
Right.
But that'll help you to actually grow in either your mobility and your strength.
Right.
And like go pay for 6 weeks of a personal trainer and just get into some exercises that make you uncomfortable and grow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very much set on the growth mindset.
No, that's my favorite thing. That's what I always say. Like I talk about it in my stand-up, everything. I think all my joy in my life comes from chasing my potential. It's constantly going like, here's who I am, here's who I could be, and just like trying to close that gap every day, you know?
But is that person that's further out on the gap, that guy there?
Yeah.
Is he your hero?
Is he? Oh, I don't know if he'd be my hero, but I think he is just an ideal. But here's the thing I think about this guy. You're never going to get here. Like, you're never finished. You're not like, oh, I did it, I'm done. You're just constantly trying. And I bet as you get closer, this probably changes a little bit, you know?
because you can see the potential. You can see how much further out you can go, and how much just greater. Because we're challenged every single day. Like some people, like when we're talking about big things, I want to talk about like simple things too as well. So like people who go paddleboarding with me for like a lesson, they're happy if they stand up.
Right.
And and that's like some people, they stand up, they're fine, they do whatever with it. They're happy if they stand up. To me, that is a great achievement all in its own.
Right.
Like, because that's for them.
Yeah.
So like when we talk about growth and we talk about how far we want to go and the person we want to be, it can be small incremental steps that actually get you towards that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be great leaps and bounds.
I think it's all small steps.
But that's the thing that like concerns me too, even with social media. Like I've done a few stories this year when I'm off and I'm paddling and stuff for what I'm up to, but I've been pretty quiet on social media because I'm beginning to realize that if I'm on there, I want to create positivity and I want to create things that people can really enjoy. But I know that I'm also creating that FOMO. I'm also creating that gap. So it's like, it's this really fine line where I've been fighting with it this year. And this is like even coming on this podcast, it's a little bit of a struggle for me because authentically I want to be true to myself and I want to be able to support those people that are within my reach.
Right.
And within like the effects I can actually have on them. So like coming to a podcast, I want to be on here because I want to have a positive influence on people. And I want people to see that things are achievable, and I want them to look at the North here especially as a place that isn't just a. He's going to edit this out, and I know he is. Hole.
She said, isn't just a place of tree planters and forest tree cutter downers. That we're very more diverse and amazing people, is what she was trying to say.
Yeah, and there are.
Well, I think that's why this is the proper medium for that.
Yeah.
Like I've got a lot more into podcasting just recently. I just did a podcast before this. I've been trying to do at least 1 or 2 a week. And I think it's the right medium because it's long form.
Yeah.
So you and I get to sit down and we get to have this long form conversation, and you can authentically express who you are, and just as simple as what you explained there. But I think that's a very good insight is you're like, oh, this is great. You are creating positivity, but you are creating that FOMO. You are creating a thing where people are going, look how amazing Kim's life is. This is so great. But they're not seeing you in the mine. They're not seeing you all the long hours on the road or whatever. And they're just thinking, oh, look at this girl who's just going around river to ririver, paddleboarding, doing this, And then it's like that can have a negative effect on people. But then when you can come on here and talk and be like, look, because that's what I've been trying to encapsulate in comedy. I love it, but there's a lot of sacrifices that are made that I don't know if they're worth it. And I'm struggling with that. I don't know. Like I'm still single. Like I don't have an intimate partner. And a lot of that is I'm not in a place for more than 3 days. Like I am, because of this thing, I feel like I'm on a treadmill that is going full speed that I can't step off. Like it's going very good. Like I would say the last 6 to 8 months, it's really been like, oh, like this is going to work. Like I'm going to be financially okay. I can do this the rest of it. It's going to be great. But you're running and you can't step off. I'm like, it feels fragile. I'm like, because if I'm not touring, I'm not making any money. And then also you worry the decline. Like, are you going to fall off? And people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to go see a show anymore. I don't want to do this. Then there's that where you constantly feel like your worth is very tied to your achievements.
Well, it's like, I can honestly relate to the same thing. Like back when I was single and trying to date, I literally would have guys be like, oh, well, you're never going to be here because you're always paddling.
Right.
I'm like, yep, that's partially true. Like I can relate to that. That's like, I'm on the road like this. I got home yesterday at like 2:00. Yeah. And I'll be leaving Thursday probably by 10 a.m. and it's Tuesday. So I'm here. I'm here for 2 days, and I'm trying to fit in all my friends, the things that I need to do at home,
and this podcast.
This podcast, yes, of course.
Yeah,
like I was to get to visit with you.
Oh, so thank you. I know. I was very excited.
Why would I hang out with Alex for an hour and like talk life and what it means to be up here and like what it means to influence and to try and bring things to the surface. Yeah. But yeah, it is that thing. Like, so I think it's hard because like you want to bring more reality to people, and you want to have realism, but you want to have that excitement that captures them all at the same time. And I think there needs to be more critical conversation around the media end of things. And like I have been more quiet this year because I have been concerned about what I'm actually producing. I'm questioning about what I'm doing. I'm not just rah, 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 rad life. It's like, sure, I'm still out doing my life and it's pretty fun.
Right. Yeah.
But like it also comes with sacrifices and time, and it's just trying to find that balance and not lose like being authentic.
Right.
And like that's a huge thing for me is I don't want to be like, yes, I'm a talented paddleboarder. Yes, I can compete. Yes, I've won some races. Yes, I can run big whitewater. Like I have certain skills. I'm a highly trained instructor for across Canada. Like I'm one of the highly trained instructors.
And from here in Prince George, BC. See, huh?
And yeah, I'm from Prince George, and it's kind of like, but it's all been based off of a little bit of my own push. So I'd rather have people be inspired from their inner push to find the little things that they can do in order to grow, so that they create their own satisfaction in their life and within themselves. Because social media, like I said, this long conversations, this is where you see reality, you see things that are more real. Because we did not start with a script.
Yeah, exactly. Are you not reading the teleprompter? You're way off. You're way off over here. You're supposed to be talking about the tree planting still.
Yeah, right. So, but no, and I think that's the realism, and that's people. We're not going to know who's AI and who's not eventually here.
Dude, I was just talking about that. Where
it's frightening.
It's like I doing a bit about how it's just robots talking to robots now. Because everyone has like an AI auto email reader guy. And so it's like, hey, read this email and compose a reply. And then this person has one too. And then it's just AI bots going back and forth. It's being like, do.
And it's, we're going to lose that.
And when AI takes over, you know where you're going to want to be?
On a river?
Prince George, BC. Because we are going to be safe up here in the north. And you can apply now. You can join our commune. It's going to be great. Where's some good spots around here to go? You're actually the first person, I remember, this was right when I was getting into my spiritual hippie stuff. I remember I was asked what you're doing this weekend. I was like, at the mill or something. And you said, not sure, but if the mountains are calling, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean the mountains are calling? I didn't get it. But it was, you're just like when you feel the urge to get out there. And
I'm more at home at nature than I am in a city. It's
Well, that's probably what makes here so good, right? Like you're, like in any direction, you can find, like, because there's beautiful mountains just north, right?
The Pine Pass is to the north.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing is like when people think about driving out of Vancouver to like Squamish or Whistler, that's like 2 to 3 hours for them depending on traffic, right? So when we drive 2 to 3 hours, if we drive 3 hours north, well, we probably punched right through the Pine Pass. We only have to go 2 hours north to get to the Pine Pass, to get to those mountains. If we drive 3 hours to the west, we're going to be gaining on Smithers. We're getting closer to the coastal mountains.
Right.
And they have their own ski hill. They have like all the outdoors. They have lakes. They have rivers. Like beautiful, gorgeous area out there.
I just toured out there through April, May, and it was, I love it every year.
Oh, it's so beautiful out there.
Yeah.
You go 3 hours to the east, and where are you?
We have like Jasper, the Rocky Mountains, right?
Yeah, then you hit Vail Mount, and you start to hit like McBride, and you get to Jasper.
Well, and even just the
Mount
hour we
Robson.
talked about, there's like the rainforest, right? Like
ancient rainforest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go any direction, and you've got adventure in pretty much every single cardinal direction. And you've got lakes in every single cardinal direction. And if you want to go to the mountains, well, I wouldn't maybe suggest going particularly south.
Right.
Unless you want to go south and then go, let me think about this for a minute. If you go south and then you go east and going towards like Barkerville and Wells area, then you get more mountains in that area too. So it's like within a couple hours, you have an outdoor playground at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to drive a couple dirt roads, possibly.
Yeah.
but yeah, within like you have outdoor playground, and you have multiple different like mountain ranges too as well within here.
That's what I always thought is if we had the infrastructure, the place would be flooded. That's kind of what I thought. Like specifically when I got back from that little west coast, like the west side there, like Smithers, Terrace, like that strip. And I was like, man, if you had the infrastructure for tourism like they have in the national parks like Banff and Jasper, I'm like, this place would be full of people. And I think we just don't, I don't know if we don't get it highlighted enough, or if it's just because it's further out of the way. Like
it's a bit of a push for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is like it's a bit of a push. And then the comfort amenities are a little bit harder to find in between.
Right.
And I think that's the part that really gets them is like people come and land in Edmonton, then they drive across to Jasper. And they go from Jasper, they go down to Banff. And then maybe from Banff, they either go across the number 1 to Vancouver.
That's what I found a lot.
Or they go back over to Calgary.
Right.
So they come through and they go through the mountains. And sometimes if we get the other, like more Europeans, I think, they come in, they land at Edmonton. They go to Jasper. They come all the way across to Tijon. Like they come out of the park, like provincial park of Mount Robson. And then they go south down through Blue River, Clearwater, and then they hook onto the highway and they head for Vancouver.
Right.
So they do a tour that way. So we don't quite get like hooked in the circle of it. So
right. The only way really is people going to Alaska,
Alaska,
right?
yeah.
That seems to be the way, the through point where people come through.
Yeah.
But then also I think something that's interesting here I do find is like a lot of our nature seems hidden. Like if you don't know where to go, you can't just find it.
Do we want everybody to know
I know.
where to go?
Yeah, you got to tell them, Kim. What is the GPS latitude, longitude of the coolest spot? Where do you go in town to do if you just want to go for a quick paddle?
Nechaco River.
Nechaco? And where do you launch from?
I launch from Kearney Street Bridge, McMillan Creek usually.
Kearney Street Bridge.
You know when you drive into the pulp mill and you make the first turn off the roundabout?
Yeah, yeah.
That little park right there by the PG Cut Banks?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that little parking lot right
So
there.
launch there, and then how long of a ride is that?
Then I go upstream for 2 to 4 kilometers.
And all on the Nechaco, but then you get off before it connects to the Fraser?
I go upstream. If I'm going to go for a paddle in town, I go upstream. Or I go to the confluence.
What do you mean? You can paddle upstream of the river?
Yes.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
Really?
Yes, I can.
That is insane to me.
When we talk about suffering, depending on how fast the river's
How are your
flowing.
lats? They must be huge.
They might break the camera if I have no flex.
Yeah, don't. I can't afford to replace these cameras. I spent everything on this table,
Right,
unfortunately.
that mahogany smoked mahogany.
Yes, it's very, very rich mahogany.
Yes.
Very, very leather-bound books, if you've noticed. They're
my
not
God,
there
Mr.
right
PG.
now. They're actually getting polished at the leather-bound bookstore, but
Right.
they'll be back. Yes. We should have a picture of you paddleboarding up there. What's one of the craziest paddles you've done? We've got another like 10 minutes. We'll get a story.
The craziest paddle I think I've done has been the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River.
The Grand Chasm?
Yeah.
No way.
The big ditch, whatever you want to refer to it, down in Arizona.
Yeah.
I guess that's where it is.
And when you do that, is it like a multiple day thing or what is it?
21-day expedition.
Oh my God, you went for 21 days?
Yeah.
And so do you pack a tent?
Yeah,
What do you do?
we were raft supported. So we had 6 rafts and then we had 5 kayaks and then I was paddleboarding it.
Yeah.
A couple of the rapids, we had way too much water, so I sat them out, but
What does
Majority
that
of
mean?
it.
Like they're...
there's no physical means by how I would have managed to make it through those rapids.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
maybe
I was wondering,
a lower
I feel like
water
if
would
you
have
want
been better.
I'm like, I feel like more water would be better, but this is my
Depends on the
ignorance to
river.
the thing.
Depends
I'm like, if
on
there's
the
too little, I'm going to hit the bottom, I'm going to crash, I fall overboard.
Yeah,
But if there's
depends on
too
the river.
much, then
Yeah.
it gets like crazy swells.
Yeah. It just gets bigger and it gets more powerful, and the more powerful the water gets, the more volume that moves, the more it's able to like punt you from the side and basically just like knock you off your board.
Yeah.
So just things get more stronger and more powerful, and then just the way the current moves and the way the boils of the water come up from underneath, like the surges of water come up from underneath, it'll just like, you'll be going down this way and it'll come up and it'll just like pick you up and kind of like push you off this way.
Yeah.
So it'll take you offline.
Right, I
And
see.
depending on the consequences, sometimes it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So but that's been probably the craziest one that I've ever done. Beautiful expedition, gorgeous people that I was there with, and like, if you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, if you get an opportunity to go in the canyon, go in the canyon. Just saying.
So just hop over the edge.
Yeah,
And...
but yeah, then in no, there's some parts you can't get out of. Like
Really?
you're on the river and there's no way out.
Right.
Like you just get cliffed out completely.
Oh wow! So you're just like
Yeah.
in a little tunnel. You like
Yeah.
just ride it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like one of those? What is it? Costco, where that little tube. You put the thing in the tube. That's you in the chasm.
Right? Yeah, but I've done some pretty crazy things. Like I've paddled the Klein River here. That's just on the southeast edge of the Rockies, down by the Saskatchewan crossing through the National Parkway there. So that one, like, it's got like I can't even reach out. Like if I would have reached out fully with my arms, I would have been touching both sides of the actual canyon. Like it's like a hallway.
Yeah.
You like go down this like hallway, but it's like super consequential. If you're not, you gotta
be on your A game.
You gotta be on your A. If you're not there, please don't go and paddle that river. It could be quite sketchy if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, and then paddling locally, like here, like I'll go out to Ena Lake and practice. I love going to Summit Lake, north of Prince George, but it's like maybe 40 minutes out.
Yeah.
The sunsets in September, honestly.
Well, they have so much crown land there, right? That
so
there's that part of the lake that is just all trees. There's no cabins, nothing, and very zen-like.
Yeah.
What is your, just 2 quick questions before we get you out of here. What would you say to anyone who's thinking of moving to Prince George or considering it?
Oh, what would I say to people moving to Prince George? If you're going to move to Prince George, don't be afraid to try and find community. It's here. It may not be screaming in your face, but there is community here. That's for sure. Like I would say, if you're moving here, like you will find community.
Yeah.
It's here. You just have to kind of peruse around a bit.
That's very good. Well, that's what I found. That's how I started comedy.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like I did a podcast and we interviewed a comic from New York. And I was like, dude, I would love to do stand-up comedy, but I'm from a small town in northern Canada. Like we just don't have it. And then someone heard that podcast and they wrote in and they said, hey man, there's actually a group of like 6 of us that do this open mic at Alfredo's Pub, like every second Thursday or something of the month.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should come on down. And I was like, what? I didn't even know we had comedians in Prince George. And then I went and it was awesome, and then found out that Nancy O's had a monthly show that they would fly people like pros up every month, then got to start opening for them. And then it was like, then we had the comedy club open up, and then we had a bunch more people that were like, oh wow, we want to do comedy, just like watching it grow. And yeah, so that's a very good one, I think. There is the community, you just have to find it.
Yeah, it's smaller. It's not at the scale that it would be if you're like thinking at a city where there's multiple outlets type thing. Like, yeah, and just, be prepared for winter.
Yeah, be prepared for winter. Don't forget.
They're not as bad as they used to be, though, up here. So
yeah, it is. I noticed that. It's definitely getting a lot shorter. Yeah. We're not getting as long of like those big cold snaps where you would get like -40 for 2 weeks or whatever.
And a little less snow. Like we're getting more Chinook type style winds that come through, and warm spells that come through. So
see, if global warming you're worried about, this is the place to be. Just give it another 20 years and we are going to be beachfront. It's going to be beautiful. Probably have some palm trees by then. We're talking about putting some palm trees in.
Have you ever hung out on Goat Island when it's like 30 degrees?
No.
You've never? Oh man.
I've never been to Goat Island when it was 20 degrees.
It's like, that's like, you like float out at the confluence onto the Fraser and like get onto the island, and it's just like this like sand spit. You can hang out there by yourself. You gotta listen to the highway a little bit. It's not that loud though. But it's basically just like sunny as all get out, and the Fraser's like nice and cold. I might as well be somewhere tropical. Like it's 30 degrees.
Close your eyes.
It's hot as sin, and I can just walk down the spit like in this nice shallow like clear water and just have an afternoon. It's gorgeous there. Yeah,
that's again. So there's like so many good spots like that you just have to find, and you can find them if you go looking. Because what's the rule? You always find what you're looking for.
Just ask around.
Just ask Kimberly. Kimberly will tell you all the good spots if you're very nice to her. Last question, real quick, is this is more like a philosophical thing. This isn't the Prince George thing, but it's just like, what is something in your life that you used to believe to be true that you no longer do?
Oh. That I used to believe was true.
Yeah, so like for me, the thing I guess kind of what I said earlier, where I used to think I had to suffer in order to have success, is where now I think it can come from a place of joy or something.
That's a really hard one to answer, honestly, on the spot.
Yeah, no, I know. You don't even have to have an answer for it. It's totally fine.
What I think used to be true.
Like, was there something in your life that you used to think this was the right way to do it? Now you're like, no, I don't do that anymore. Or
I think it's just more a reflection when people always say, like, what do you believe to be true or not to be true? So, like, something just to kind of toss into the mix when we talk about reality is, like, my mother has had leukemia for 18 years. Mm-hmm. And we always thought that my mother was going to pass. So we took her rafting. We got her out on some adventures. We used to share stuff, everything with her. And then my dad started getting forgetful. And then my dad got brain cancer. And within 4 months, my dad died.
Oh, wow.
So it's something where when you used to believe something was true, so I used to believe that I would lose my mom before I would lose my dad.
Right.
And yet I lost my dad before I lost my mom. And yet, like, like when you believe stuff to be true, like it's just kind of one of those things where it's like you don't, I don't know, it's like, don't take your interactions with people for granted, or like you don't know people's story, and even when it comes to your parents, you don't quite know what they're always going through. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's like it's something I used to believe that was true. I used to actually believe I would lose my mom before I lost my dad, and I lost my dad before I lost my mom.
Right. And then,
so,
well, that's
and I think that's just something like, something that I believe. It's like when people are like, what do you believe in? It's like, well, I believe in unlimited possibility.
right.
But there's also the threads of life, which are I say of life, which would be sorrow, the threads of like incidents, or the threads of like accidents that come into that unbelievable, like unlimited possibility. There's threads that come in there, and no matter what those threads are, they're still a part of a beautiful like tapestry that is your life.
Right.
So like if you believe something, that may just be a thread or something that's happening during the formation of what your life actually is.
Right. And it might not even be what you believe it to be.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, oh, this thing that looks like it's a very terrible, negative thing at the time. When you step back and you get that tapestry done, you're like, oh, look at this beautiful. Without that, I wouldn't have this.
Yep.
And it's like this piece completed
And
this.
if you hadn't walked into the lab at the pulp mill,
Yep.
going off to your friend about this apprenticeship, which I didn't even know what it was at the time, for a trade,
Yeah.
I would have never have applied
Right.
for the apprenticeship. So I have a lot thanks to you, and it's interesting, like the life interactions, the bridges that you cross and the paths that you meet with people. You don't know how that influence is going to carry them forward.
Right.
And the success that I've had in my life simply because you were energetic to share something with one of your friends that like I overheard, and I thought, well, maybe that's a good idea. It sounds like they really need somebody to do it.
Yeah.
I could possibly do it. And with that small little bit of belief and a little bit of like encouragement indirectly, you don't know when you're inspiring people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like has led me to where I definitely am today. It definitely has like supported and aided.
Well, that's very sweet to hear. Thank you. Come
there
on.
we go.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually really good. I really like that, the inspiration thing.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. That's Kimberly Kenyon, another one of our amazing athletes. I don't know, I go on all day. I guess an outdoorsy lady. She's a trades person, we decided, right? Tradesperson.
Yeah.
And right here in Prince George. Thank you for sitting down and spending the time with me. It was so sweet.
This has been definitely a joy. Thank you,
Awesome.
Alex.
Thank you.